Hello, and welcome to the first of two training sessions on earshot distro geared towards programmers and staff, so broadcaster accounts in particular. We're going to do a bit of a quick walkthrough of everything as we move forward. All right, so I'll start off by sharing the screen. I assume everybody knows what earshot distro is, but I will explain that as we move ahead. All right. Okay, so I am just arranging so I can see everybody. Okay, so earshot distro was our solution to the challenge of so many CDs being physically sent to radio stations. Before we launched this piece of software, we surveyed our radio stations and found that somewhere, up to 70 to 80% of the CDs arriving in the mail were immediately going into the trash. And there's a lot of time taken up by music directors, and in most cases, volunteers, just processing all of this material that comes in through the door. And one of the things that we realized was, if we have 97 radio stations, someone is sending 97 copies of the same CD, and then 97 people are processing it. So it was a ridiculous duplication of effort that we thought we might address in a different way. So that's where we came up with the idea of earshot distro. It's essentially an online database of music that is added. So if you go to earshot-distro.ca, that will bring you to this webpage. This tells you a little bit about earshot distro, our consultation report, some of the other information you might want to find out about, but we're not going to dive into that right now. We're going to go straight to login, which brings you here. So I'll show you how to set up an account and so on as well. You can click sign up, but I think if you're station management, there's a way of doing it within the accounts, and I'll get to that in a minute. Okay, I'm going to sign myself in. So this is where you land on. Now, we have the review laters and these folders. You won't see those because this is specific to my account. And likewise, I could have some saved searches as well. I will circle back to explain what all of these are and how we go from there. But let's start off with the actual library. You can find it by clicking here and just hitting search. That will take you straight to the library. Or you can hit the top button and that will also take you to the library. I am keeping an eye on the chat if anyone has any pressing questions. Otherwise, I will respond to them all at the end. All right, so once you're in the library, as you can see, apparently we've got a new track from Simple Plan. That's pretty exciting. We have over 17,000 tracks that are in the database so far. I believe someone said that they do an all-women's show out of BC. So what we can do is we can start to narrow it down. And let's say we want to do women's folk out of BC. And then that brings that 17,000 all the way down to 210. Which is a pretty decent roster of tracks to play around with. So our advanced search functionality on the left-hand side allows you to quickly and easily narrow that down. The show that I do is an LGBT spoken word show that does have music on it occasionally. We'll give this a hot second to load. Okay, so there's about 184 LGBT folk tracks. The reason why I wanted to show you this particular search is because this is a good way of keeping track of tracks that you've already reviewed and maybe ones that you haven't. So for Clara Engel's album, Their Invisible Hands, I have listened to all of these tracks, but I have not listened to I Drink the Rain or High Alien Priest, because you can see that these are missing there. A really good quick way of getting through that is on the left-hand side. You can actually narrow it down to songs that you have not listened to. So if you find yourself doing the same search frequently, if you have a jazz show that focuses on Calgary, for example, and you're only searching Calgary jazz, this function weeds out everything you've already looked at and will only show you what you haven't looked at. So that 210 drops to 81, much more reasonable to kind of sift through. So you can sort, you can search by artist or publisher. You can narrow it down to a certain period of time. You can also save your searches. I will note that if you are looking for LGBT folk that you haven't listened to, and you save it with a date range, what it does, it saves those specific dates. So if you're doing the last 30 days and then you come check it the next day, those dates don't move. So it will be the same search as the exact time before. So if you're saving searches, don't do it with the dates included, because that won't help you at all. But the date range is a good one if you're trying to figure out what has been uploaded in the last 7 days. And then, you know, we can go from there. I don't know if this, apparently these were uploaded in the last 7 days. So it's a good way if you're programming a music show to find what you're looking for quickly and easily, and you know, avoid duplications and kind of get as specific as you can. All right, so that's the basics of it. We do have a lot more fine detail. So if you see in country, there's all of these, you know, more distinct genres, and some of them have even more distinct again. So we can get quite granular in terms of the filtering detail. Bearing in mind, if you're there looking for Americana, there is not, you know, you're also banking on those Americana artists also tagging themselves as Americana, because it depends on, we have one apparently, Americana artists. So the artists themselves also have to indicate on the release the search criteria for you to find them. But the big ticket search ones like country or jazz or pop, you're always going to bring people up from that one. All right, let's go back to the main database without any of the filters. So I got a question in the chat. How do artists get into the lists? So the way that you get into this is just upload your track. So that Americana artist, for example, uploaded their track, and when asked what genres, they tick the box for Americana. So when I search for Americana music, boom, there they were. So it really does land on that. I see Ken's question. I will get to it in just a few minutes. So we're back on this main page. We see congratulations by Simple Plan. I've been waiting for it. I know that's going in my show this week. Download release, nice and easy, MP3 320, boom, done. And what that will do is it'll download it as a zip file. We also see here the Sweet Rose Green Winter Desktop, Tell This Side Autumn of the Fighter Hot in a Cool Way. It's a very long title for a track. When you hit download release here, click your format, it'll also zip it, but it will zip all of those song tracks in one folder. So this is the quickest way for you to download tracks, is you just see them there, hit the big blue button. You can see the genres in the middle here. So this is the genre that they've identified as. And if they are complying with MAPL, so the Maple designations, they will be here with the little Canadian flags. So you can see here from Melo Hello, they are not CanCon, so they do not have a maple flag. All right, I do see that question about explicit. It is specifically indicated in there as well. So let's pull up congratulations. Seems to be a bit slow for me today. Right, so this is where you get a lot of the track details. I'm actually gonna, this is what I have done here is I've clicked on the release. So the better way of showing you that is actually with an album. So you can see here, here's the album art, here is all of the song data, and here is the information for the album itself. So we've got the subgenre, the hypergenre, where it was located or released. I do want to flag these two, system release date and public release date. Currently, our database lists everything according to when it was put in the database. So it is organized in reverse order of system release date. So it may be a brand new single and I've just put it in. It may be a single from 2 years ago and I've just put it in. It will still sit at the top of that release date. So it's not organized according to public release date, but rather when it was input into the system. We know that this is an issue, and we're actually looking at financing an upgrade with our software developers to specifically have that filter so you can do it according to public release. So that way the new music is literally the new music and not just a back catalog item that someone is adding. So when you're looking at that main database, just bear in mind that the songs are listed according, so newest to oldest, that is for when they were added to the database. All right. So this has all of the MAPL information for your compliance. This is the name of the record company, and this is the type of license that it has. We ask the musicians to let us know if it can be used, for example, in advertising. So if I go here into this big blank spot, available for podcast, background for advertising, let's take a look there. There's 5,000, that seems like an awful lot of tracks. Let's find, you know, some soft pop or something by maybe indigenous folks. Let's see if we can find some nice background tracks. So these are all licensed for background music, should you feel the urge. So I see a question there from Anne in terms of this bit here. That just means that when they uploaded it, they submitted it, there's a choice of a single, an EP or extended play, and an album. So they just released this collection of songs as an EP and not as an album. That's all that this is indicating. So it's not overly helpful to us as broadcasters. Let's take a look at Hot in the Cool Way. So this is the actual song detail page, which has a lot more information in it. You can still see the MAPL breakdown here. But what else you can see here is the ISRC code, the clean or context required. So that, or context not required, that is the explicit yes or no filter. If you find that someone has put it's clean, context not required, just flag it. And we'll go and check it out and see if that's an issue or not. All right. Let me just bring that back up. This has an audio player that you can move around, which is very helpful. This gives you a bit of information about the artists. And some of them have even included the lyrics, which is very helpful. So let's say you are over the moon about Hot in a Cool Way and you want to interview the band. You just hit request an interview, type in your message, and that goes directly to the person that uploaded the track. So if the band uploaded it themselves, it reaches the band. If it was their publicist or their publisher, it reaches that person. And the way you find out where your messages went is in the top bar, messages, and there it is. So that's a pretty built-in system for requesting any interviews that you may have. Not really sure what you mean by your question there, Arby. The zip is when we export out the audio files, and it just puts it into a single folder. So we do know that artists are favoring singles compared to albums, which is frustrating because a lot of radio stations only process albums and not singles. So there's a bit of a mismatch there that we're working on. And we've been talking a lot with the broadcast, the music industry about how our sector manages music intake compared to how they are making music intake. But we're a very small cog in a very big machine of the music industry. So there's only so much we can do with that. So that's one of the things. I did want to share some details here. So right here in the main list, you can hit this little arrow and it will actually drop down a player. Now, this built-in menu player doesn't have a skip function. So you're just listening to it all the way through. If I did this, it just restarts it. So that's a little frustrating, but not the end of the world. You can also see that each of the tracks can be rated. And then there's these additional buttons here as well. I'm actually going to pull up, congratulations. All right. So as we can see here, this player allows you to do all of this and move it along, which is great. If I thought this was fantastic, I'd go in there, I'd type things up, add my review, hit post review. And then for anyone else viewing this track, they would see that review. So will the artists. So be aware of that if you're reviewing things, the people that uploaded it can also see it. And then on that main page, the rating is an aggregate or an average of all of the reviews that are on there. Not many people have reviewed our tracks yet, but that's something that we're thinking of pushing a little bit more. All right, this is where you'd see that. Now, this is the review later list. The way I think about this is you've seen this artist, you want to take time to listen to them, but you just don't have time today. Boom, review later. I'll get back to it some other time. What that does is on your home page when you land, so you can also get that by hitting the earshot distro page. This is where it shows up. So if you were meaning to come back to it, or it was one that you really want to get in your show, but you don't know when, that's a really good way of doing it, is going to the review later button. Another option is this little folder plus one here. So I think Simple Plans, congratulations, is really good for my rap show on Tuesdays. So I'm going to add it to the rap show on Tuesday. I mean, it's not a very good mix. It's a bit of a terrible combination, but I've decided I want them on my rap show on Tuesday playlist. So if I go here into folders, the best way to think about the folders is a show log or a show playlist. That's the best way to kind of visualize this. So when I go to my rap show on Tuesday, these are all of the songs that I've picked out that I think are perfect for my Tuesday rap show. And I've got them all here. I can rearrange them as need be. I can play directly off of this. So if I go into the studio and log in, I can play them according to the order. But the main, sorry, give me a second to mute this when it loads. There we go. The main feature here is that you can download it. So if you were, oh, whoops, it's over there downloading. There we go. If you have built a playlist for a show and you've put all of them in one place, you can then download that as a zip file, and it's a folder with everything that you need in it. So if you've put all of the ones together, you don't want like the whole album of one person, but rather a mix of different things in a particular order. You can build that within the system and then download it all at once. It also generates an Excel document, which is effectively a log of each of those tracks. So for your own record logging, it's there in an Excel sheet. So then you have that information. So somebody asks about the search for a song of a specific length. It's a bit of a tongue twister. And you've got that here. So I don't know why we have songs up to 13 minutes, but you can really kind of narrow it down there. So let's say you want only songs that are under 2 minutes and 39 seconds. And then you can hit and filter it that way. Fun fact, songs under 60 seconds are not legally songs. Bet people didn't know that. All right, so that's the folder functionality and the review later functionality. Saved searches are pretty simple. So let's say you want songs that are between 1 second and 2 minutes and 39, preferably pop. What you can do is give that a name. There you go. And then you hit search. And just by hitting search, what that has done is, if I go over here to earshot Distro, is it saved it as a search because I gave it a name and then hit search. So now it's saved. So if I ever want to find that same information, it'll pull it up there. So for your homepage, that's your folders, which are essentially playlists. Your review later is essentially, you're sort of pinning them to the front so you don't lose track. Okay, that's the gist of the music database. There's quite a few other elements that I will go over, but I wanted to just open it up and see if there were any questions about that. You can either ask in the chat or you can unmute and we'll go from there. So yeah, do we have any questions about that so far? Go ahead, Bruce.
My question is, if it's left up to the artists to determine what category, the mischief makers in that punk world, there are young artists, teenagers that would just go everything, and I have an award. I do the Winnipeg Local Music Awards, and it's all you nominate yourself. Like the fans nominate everybody into whatever category. It's not like a list for pop, a list for punk, and the punk fans and some of the bands will just go, their punk pop band in the metal category, in the country category, in the songwriter category, and is there an automatic way, or is that just one of those things?
Yeah, so I mean, we haven't really come across that too much. We did have a couple where it was like 15 sub and hyper categories, which was a bit niche. And I believe, Eloisa, that there is a limit on the number of top categories that you can list as. Am I correct in remembering that?
Yeah, I believe there's a limit for whenever you, on the musician side, whenever you upload, you have to choose a genre and a subgenre. You have to put something down, only at least one thing. So I've never come up the problem people choosing the wrong thing. If anything, a lot of artists contact me. He's like, hey, I can't find a genre that would fit my type of music, and I don't want to like miscategorize myself because it's like unprofessional. So we're actually doing an update to include more genres because we find that we've been, well, of course, like there's so many, but there's so many more that we would miss the first time around. So I've never come across someone mislabeling themselves, but I'm sure that could happen.
So the genres that we do have correlate to the CRTC and what they need in terms of your amount of CanCon and so on and so forth. So our top level genres are there so that we can, ensure compliance with CanCon regulations. And when you get into the hyper and the super niche genres, as long as that's got a parent that makes sense, the sort of the overall arching genre that makes sense, so that stations can actually log these tracks. That's all that we really care about. So that for at least for me, for representing broadcasters, as long as we know where to put you on the sheet, that's good enough for me. You can filter by rating, although I did say that we have not a huge amount of tracks rated, so I'm not sure if we're going to get a huge number of responses from there. Well, there's 180 odd 4-star ones, though, so that's pretty impressive. All right, go ahead, Anita.
I just wanted to be clear about Ann Russell's question further back up the chat list. $7 per song, does that mean you pay for usage? And it's the earshot distribution is, we don't have to pay for downloading each song or anything like that.
No, you're right. And I do see your hand there, Bonnie. So the way it works is we initially saw this as an alternative to physically mailing out 97 CDs, which has its own substantial cost. Whereas it's $7 for an EP or a single, and I believe about 50-ish for a whole album.
Yeah. So it is $7 for a single, and then if you do an album, which is 8 to 20 songs, it's $50.
Yeah. And that was designed to be priced at cheaper than the mail. And that pretty much just covers our data storage costs for the tracks. But as members of the NCRA, you have free access to this database, and there's no costs associated with downloading those tracks for broadcast use. All right, go ahead, Bonnie.
Muted.
You're just muted a second there, Bonnie.
As you know, you can look, I'm a senior citizen. And as I put in there, I like the CDs. I ask artists to send me CDs, and they do. Now, I realize that the world is changing. My show is called The Times They Are Changing, and this is the kind of change that boggles my mind. I think it's great, but when we turn it off, I'm not going to remember half of it. And I'm a Mac person, and when I was trained on Macs, it was user friendly, and I haven't heard those words in 50 years. So is there going to be some way for me and anybody else in this situation to, other than to just keep using it so that we can finally figure out how it works, get this information somehow else?
Yeah, there are user guides that have been created, and this session and other sessions are being video recorded, so you can always circle back and do the walkthrough again.
Mhm.
On the question of CDs, we are looking at it in terms of the cost to the musicians, the cost in terms of the time for station staff and volunteers to process them, and also the environmental cost. And we believe that sending every CD to every station is not a practical solution. However, if you are a programmer that wants that CD, ask the label and the distributor or the artist, and they will almost certainly happily send you one. We have no issues with people continuing to use physical formats for their programming. What we're trying to do is cut back on the bulk, which is leading to a lot of waste and a lot of wasted time. So that's really where our ethos is coming here. We know some people are always going to use LPs or CDs. That's fine. You can find somebody on here and message them asking to send you a CD. Like, that's not outside the realm of possibility. I see a question here about the charge to the musicians. There is a charge to musicians. A number of radio stations have joined together to create the Music Directors Alliance. So these are radio stations that receive a lot of music from the music industry. And essentially, they've created a universal form on their website where artists would submit music to go to their radio station. And if they indicate that they are earning under 10,000 a year in their own music, we will waive the upload fee for earshot Distro. So we've effectively made it free for musicians earning under 10,000 at these participating stations in the Music Director Alliance. So we are aware that even $50 can be a barrier to some people. So we've addressed that in the best way we can. So the recording of the session will actually be here on earshot Distro and support and training. So it'll be under the broadcaster user guide and videos. We will update that web page.
Something I wanted to touch on was when artists sign up to use Distro, they have a message button just like you guys do, but artists can't directly message you through the website. So we asked any stations that would like, they can fill out information for artists to see, and that information, like it touches on how would you like the music to be sent through you? Oh, through the links, through Dropbox, through stuff like that. And you can specify preferences that you would like. So when artists are sending you cold emails, they're specifically something that you will be looking for. So even in one of the parts that you guys would fill out is if you would like CDs to be sent to you and the address. So we have some stations that fill that out, and that way artists can know if they are local and they would like to send a CD, they're more than welcome to. That way resources are more utilized and stuff like that. So if you guys end up using the system, I suggest filling out the forms. Very useful, not only for the artists to be able to contact you, but so you can like get sent things that would actually be of value to you. So at the end of the time, it saves you time and saves them time.
All right. I'm going to wrap up the other broadcasting pieces here. So this is where most of you won't see all of these menu items. You're all going to see search library. The PSA will depend on whether or not your account has access to that. The programs will depend on whether or not you have access to that. The referrals are for pretty much just station managers. The way the referrals work is you can generate a code, and I believe it gives 5 or 10% discount to the artist, and some of that goes back to your station. Some of that is just straight up saving for the artists. Essentially, if you have a small local battle of the bands, or you want to use a program to promote emerging artists, you can give them this code and they'll always have a discount on uploading. It's not a huge amount, but it's a good way for you to kind of leverage your membership for lower fees for your local musicians. If you have any questions about it, just ask us directly and we'll help you with the referral codes. The messaging I showed you earlier, that's pretty intuitive. It's where the messages go. Now here, where it says NCRA broadcaster, it would say your name. That would just say your account name. So not everyone is going to be the NCRA broadcaster. So if I go into my account, this is just the access information. I can toggle whether or not artists can contact me and then save those changes, change my name, my email. For station managers, this one is so I just went to organizational settings. This is where a lot of the key admin piece is done. So you've got your name, your station call letters, your description, you can add a logo. Now, how you add volunteers to give them access is very easy. You click invite, name, email, user type, staff or program volunteer, and what they can have access to: downloading, uploading, PSAs, programs, or just music. And then this individual would get an email with the login invitation, and it would give them the access codes that you have said. And what it also does then is it would list the person that you've added here under this list. So you can edit what permissions they have. And you can also, if I go back here, you can also delete them by just hitting the cross. So in terms of giving new programmers or other staff access, it's pretty intuitive once you get onto that page. So seeing Brian's question about adding specific links to messaging, absolutely, that is the universal submission form. Some of these websites, some of these radio stations have essentially looked at their website where it says, send music here, here's the phone number for the music director, etc., etc. And they've replaced those points of contacts with a digital form, which is the same for each of these stations with a little bit of customization. And those forms all feed into one shared database. In about a year, we're going to move that to a direct portal directly onto Distro. But for now, it's a form that they all have. That's pretty standard. And that's how we're capturing this information for Distro. So moving on to programming. So our program exchange, which I will show you here, is pretty old. So much so that I do not believe we can update it without sort of reinventing the website, which is a bit of a challenge. So because of the issues we're having with this very dated syndicated program exchange, we've actually moved that functionality over to earshot Distro. So now individuals can upload and download programs. If I go on programs here and I look, this is all of the, right now there's only me because I tested it. But this is where you would see the list of all of the programs that are in the system and how many shows each of them has. And likewise, you can sort it out by hosts or by the shows themselves. Hopefully not everyone calls them episodes because that's not very imaginative and will be very difficult to find. But that's where the program exchange is moving to. Similarly with PSA campaigns. So we'll be moving our PSA campaigns onto the system as well. So if you're looking at all of the PSAs that are out there, you would just click on PSAs by organization or by campaign. Likewise, if you're looking for syndicated programs, you'd hit programs or shows. All right. You can also find them in the database itself. We are changing the search functions. So if you see here, these are toggle bars for rock and reggae and R&B. And we don't have one for PSAs. That's the upgrade they're working on right now, is to give this its own little toggle, but we don't have that yet. So we have all of these ones, but if I go down here to spoken word, because I know that's where it is, you'll find it in the database. So this is where you can see it. It has a rating system. And then you can see the song details and the track listing and information. So that's where all of this is going to be. We don't have a can, but that's one of the things that we're looking at as well. So there are some pieces to the program and PSAs that aren't finished yet. And that is being able to subscribe to an RSS feed for the shows. A lot of station managers would realize that to syndicate a program, it's the same release date, and they've automated this. That automation piece is one of the things that we're working on. We're hoping to have it finished in the next week or two. And that toggle for the search functionality is also being worked on as we speak. So we estimate within the next month or so, the PSAs and programs will be on this system, and we'll do training specifically on that. All right, so that's the broadcaster side. Does anyone have any questions about that? Or questions about something I may have missed? Okay, I don't see any. Oh. Yeah, so I do see Brian's question. The different user types. On the broadcasting side, there is a staff, there's an admin account, which would just essentially be the first person we give the account to at your station, typically the station manager. And they would be able to create staff accounts or volunteer accounts. What the staff can then do is add volunteers. So there's different permissions that you can assign depending on whether or not they are. And volunteers are able to access the database. They, if with the right permissions, can upload or download shows or PSAs, but they can't add other people. That's restricted to just the staff. So I had a question about the National Music Director Partnership and what that form looks like. And I'm pulling it up now, so I'll share that with you next. I'm not sure if I froze or if nobody's asking questions. Okay, there's some movement there. All right, it's not just me. All right, so here is the. So we'll be releasing the criteria and the process for syndicating programming. That's on our list of things that we're going to do when we start releasing that information. So I'm just going to show folks the universal submission when it loads. So this would be embedded into a website, and it asks for all of the information that we need, you know, province, city, genres, hypergenres, self-identifiers, the CanCon questions. This is probably more information than what a radio station might need, but it is information that we need to have it listed in earshot Distro. So that's that. And then what it looks like on the back end is this. So it sort of feeds into this database on the back end. If you're familiar with Airtable, then that should be easy enough. All right, I'm at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Eloisa, who's going to give us a quick glimpse at what the musicians see when they're uploading.
Did you give me the host? Okay, got it. Yeah, so we're just gonna take a quick look at what the Can you guys hear me? Did you get okay? Okay. So this is what it looks like. You have your account, you log in, and this is basically it. So on the back end, sometimes we do uploading for some artists if we have like a full service. And this is kind of what it looks like. They are able to see their dashboard, which is just like interactions that they have with songs that they have uploaded, and all the songs that are live, songs are waiting for payment, songs are waiting for metadata. We also have it so they can be, labels can run this, so you can have different artists, you can manage different artists from this account. Releases, and this will be like the messaging outlook. So from there, they would do outreach, and they would bring a list of stations that have provided their information for artists to reach out to. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of it, like their account, and more than anything, the interactions and stuff like that. And this will be the uploading process, which is basically what we do run-throughs and show artists how to do, and for best practices and stuff like that. But that's kind of it. If you have so many questions about it, you can let me know. But that's kind of what it looks like in their end of things.
Okay, so we've got about 5-10 minutes left here. We've got a question there about what are interactions. So I believe what's captured now is the download. So if I find a track and I download it, it'll indicate that my account has downloaded that. So if
Yes.
yeah, go ahead.
So it shows you to an artist. So interactions just means on a song, you can click on it and it'll see who listened to it and if they downloaded it. So if they listened to it but didn't download, it kind of means like the broadcaster passed on it. But if they give it a listen and they downloaded it, an artist can reach out to them afterwards and be like, hey, I saw you downloaded my song. Thank you so much. Give it like a still like personalization between like artists and broadcasters kind of thing. But that just gives the artist an idea of how often their songs are getting played, if they're getting any playback from that. But yeah, sometimes you can even listen and download immediately and it won't even show for them in some aspects. So sometimes they're like, my song hasn't been downloaded. And I will reach out to some station and be like, we did download it. So we're still working on the back end of things, but that's just a way for artists to see like the outcome of using the system.
One of the things that we have heard most from musicians is part of the reason why they're phoning stations and phoning music directors and chasing them up is because they will send a song or an album and never hear from it again. And it's that complete wall of silence that follows submitting music, which really frustrates the musicians. But frankly, radio stations don't have the manpower of staffing to follow up on every track that's ever provided. And we're trying to explain that the best we can to the music industry, that you can't really expect a response from our sector. We don't have, most of us are volunteer run stations. But this automated interactions piece is designed to counter some of that and sort of give them a sense of feedback that it is being reviewed and engaged with.
Yeah, like I said, artists can upload their music, but they can also email you guys about me like, hey, I uploaded a song to your Distro, and they can send you a link of their song on Distro that you can just click and listen to. But the key thing is you have to be logged in to be able to click on the link, and then it will show up. Sometimes when broadcasters get the link from your Distro, they'll click on it and it'll say you have to log in. You do the login process and then no song will pop up. So you're like, oh, maybe it didn't work. But if you just click on the link while you're signed in, it will bring you directly to the song. And from there, you can see the bio of the artist. You can see other stuff that they uploaded, and then you can kind of stalk them if you want from there. Yeah, that's kind of it. Do you guys have any questions about the back end of what the musicians see? You can let me know. I deal with the support emails. So whenever a musician has a question, I'm the one that answers it. So I know that back end more than the broadcasters end.
The other thing I wanted to mention is we release an email every Monday to the music list on the NCRA, which essentially captures the albums that have been added that week and then the singles that have been added that week. So at a quick glance, you can see where they all are. I bring this up because each and every one of them is linked, but those links only work if you're logged in. So if I wasn't logged in, that link wouldn't help me. And we've also partnered up with Exclaim, where they are showcasing 8 musicians every month. And we've invited those 8 musicians to also upload onto Distro. And then we link them and notify our members of those tracks as well. So those are other ways that we're promoting the emerging music through our music list. How'd you get added to the music list? Just email me saying I want to be added to the music list, luke@ncra.ca. I will then add you to the music list. All right. Any other questions about earshot Distro? Okay, seeing none. I did see all the wonderful comments thanking us for the system. Bonnie, was that a question? Oh.
Putting it in the chat, but the reason I'm saying this is I have a young friend who used to be a musician and had very bad experience in the business, and She's just getting back in. She just sent me her new song. I said she should, sign up with Earshot. She's, how will she know? I mean, you said that it's, there's a fee for the artist. She only has the one song. Should she just send it to me? Or, I mean, I want her to be in here and I want to encourage her to keep going, right? But she's, she's broke. She doesn't have a lot of money to do this. So is this something that the artist should wait till they have, 5 or 6 songs before they do this so that they can afford it? Or as I said, I'm talking about single songs. I get a lot of single songs, too many for me to even follow at this point, of songwriters send lists to me, their new songs and everything. And I certainly can't keep track of that. That's one of the reasons I like CDs, you got them there. To keep track of all this music that's coming in, and it's mostly, from women singer-songwriters. So my question is, how do you determine with a musician, if they want to get into this system, what's going to cost them?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. Off the bat, they can pay the $7 and get the one track up there. And the reason why I say that, it's about discoverability. You're far more likely to be played on a station or by a programmer if they can find your music without necessarily having that CD physically in hand. So, maybe that musician is a good fit for someone who's specifically looking for female artists in that genre, and they will pop up in that list. So in terms of discoverability, getting into the database is key there. The other thing to consider is your radio station can give a referral code, which I think would knock that down to about $5 or $6. It's not a huge discount, but it's a step in the right direction. And then the other option, again, is to submit it to one of the radio stations that have created the Music Director Alliance. And some of them are up and running. And if you indicate that you are earning under $10,000 a year from your music, we will waive the fees, but it has to go through one of those stations. I think the ones up and running now with the form is, I want to say CGSF, and I'm not sure if CGSW has the form up yet.
Not yet. I'm transitioning still. It's been a process. I've been using JotForm still, so yeah, in the works.
All right, but yes, I think CGSF, sorry, is the one that you can put it in straight away, and we'll see that there. So if they go to CGSF's website, that form should be visible on their website already. So that's another way. But honestly, the quickest method is to just upload it, and we'll work with, I think with Kootenai Co-ops, we'll reach out to Kootenai and see if they want to set up a referral code for the station themselves. All right, that has brought us about to the end of it all. There are quite a few things we're looking to improve with earshot Distro and make better, including right now we're focusing on that programming side, but it is an ongoing process, and it is being built to help serve programmers and radio stations. So if you find an issue with it, or it's there's a usability issue that you think we should address, just shoot us an email, and we'll add that into our list of things to fix as we get funds available. Otherwise, I want to thank you all for joining, and if you have any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out.